It is the fourth and the final day of the 2024 Republican National Convention, with the Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, preparing to make his case for a second term in just a few hours. His running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, addressed the nation for the first time as a vice presidential candidate last night with a moving speech that included a tribute to his mother. And what can we anticipate from tonight's event? Well, joining me now to discuss this and more, live from the convention, is Congressman Nathaniel Moran. He serves on 3 House committees, including the House Committee on Foreign Affairs and the House Judiciary Committee. He represents the 1st Congressional District of Texas. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Good afternoon, Tony. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you from Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a lot of excitement. I left there on Monday. I was there last week for the platform committee, stayed over through the weekend to speak at a couple of churches, and then was there for Monday. And then I actually let the alternative delegate from Louisiana have the fun of being there on the floor of the convention. So let's talk a little bit about last night, because you're very focused on foreign policy. We had a powerful reminder of the chaotic Afghan withdrawal. So these issues obviously are being talked about for a reason. The American people care about them. These will be defining issues in the election.
Absolutely, they will. And you saw signs in the arena last night that said peace through strength. As Republicans, we all know that term, that great Reagan foundation on how to go about our foreign policy. And it's a great reminder of what we have not seen over the past 3.5 years under President Biden's term. The term really under President Biden has been weakness. Weakness not only in the Afghanistan withdrawal, but in the China balloon gate, and not protecting our borders and protecting the sovereignty of the United States. You go on and on about the weakness in the White House right now, and that is a very different thing than what we saw under President Trump, where you saw lots of strength. And that provided deterrence in this world and provided peace and stability and prosperity. And that's what we expect in a second term as well.
Nathaniel, last night the convention also featured support for Israel. That was a part of last night's event. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was so glad to see that, because Israel is just one of our closest allies, and we have to stand steady and firm, and President Biden has not done that. And last night we heard great reminders about why we need to continue to do that. It is in America's best interest, its national security interests, its economic interests, its foreign policy interests, and quite frankly, its moral interest for us to remain allied with a country that shares so many values. We are a nation that was built on a Judeo-Christian ethic that came from the natural law of God. We share that foundation. We must promote that foundation, not just a history, but a future with Israel.
Well, with that in mind, I would have to believe you're probably disappointed with the GOP platform that only includes one line about our party's commitment to Israel. We stand with Israel. Nothing about the forced two-state solution that's been foisted upon them by the left. I think Israel is one of those defining issues that the party needs to clearly articulate.
It is, and not just on the Israel issue, but on the life issue. I know you've talked about that as well. There are some things that we need to make sure that our actions continue to show strength in the moral issues that have really defined us as a conservative movement for more than 2 generations at least, but going back several generations. We cannot get to a place where we are bound in moral relativism. That is a mistake. That would take us in the wrong direction. That's the direction of the Democrats. That's what's got them to a place of socialism. We need to be rooted in moral absolutes. And life is one of those. And standing with Israel has been a real pillar of those moral truths and moral foundations of our country and of our conservative values over the past several decades. We cannot lose that in action, even if it's not in the written word of what was adopted here on the floor.
Let me ask you about that, Nathaniel, because as an evangelical Christian, you come into the political arena. You and I have had conversations about this, really from your faith. Your faith compels you to be involved. And those issues are very important if we want to engage Bible-believing Christians in the political process. It's been the bridge. I mean, it's what brought me into the political realm. I was a police officer. I was fine doing that. But it was the life issue that brought me into the political arena. And I don't think I'm alone in that.
No, you're not alone in that, and that's what drives my service as well. I've told you several times that I felt called to public service from the fourth grade. I believe it's a divine call that God places on our lives, and we must follow that. And we have to be rooted in the moral truths of God. We cannot get away from that. Once we get away from that as a party, as a nation, that's when our nation is really going to fall in on itself. And I hope that our Republican Party is not going that direction. I pray and hope that it's not going in that direction. And as you have talked about before, we've got to pray, we've got to stand, and we've got to vote. If we will do those things, that will hopefully get us continued in the right direction. But there's certainly some areas where you want to have some deep conversations with colleagues and say, listen, we do not want to repeat the mistakes of the Democrats. We do not want to be the Democratic Party of the 90s that led to the Socialist Democratic Party of today. We don't want to do that.
And those defining issues are really what Ronald Reagan stood on when he challenged the Soviet Union. And we face a very similar opponent today in China. Most are not paying attention to that, but China is a great threat to us, and we have to have moral courage to face it. We only got 30 seconds left, but you've been focused on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to beat China on the world stage because they want to spread their influence, which is at least an amoral, if not an immoral, influence around the world, and it's going to squish the ability to spread the gospel. We want liberty out there in the United States and throughout the world so that the gospel of liberty can dominate.
Absolutely. It's ordered liberty is what we seek to protect and promote. Congressman Nathaniel Moran, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to see you, and I love that red jacket.
Thanks, Tony. Pleasure to be with you. Have a great night.
All right, take care.